To include fonts in your Magento project, there are 3 ways to do it. First way, when using Google Fonts, you can embed the font using import inside your style sheets. Second way, you can embed by inserting the link tag inside the head of your project. Third way, you can download the font files, add these fonts in your project, reference, and use them. As for the first method, there are a lot of articles online that explain why you should try to avoid it. It has to do with applications performance. I will leave the link of this article in the description so you can read it. Now let's see how we can use the second way to include fonts. To insert something in the head of your Magento 2 application, you have to use XML. You need to create a default headblocks.xml file inside your theme, under the Magento theme layout directory. Luma theme also has this file, so I am going to copy the base structure of XML from Luma theme. Remove the unnecessary code. And paste the one from Google. We don't need the second link, so I will remove it. Here we need to replace the href with source. And in Magento we also need to add the source type URL parameter. Also, the ampersand character is not permitted in XML attribute values, so we need to escape it. To apply this change and add these links in the head of the project, we need to flush the cache. If we now view the source code of the project, we will see that the Google font link will appear inside the head. So this was the second method how to include fonts in your Magento 2 project. Now let's see the third way. But before that, really quick, let me first tell you what I want to achieve. In this project I will be using 2 different fonts. The primary font will be Roboto. This font will be the default font for each element in the site. At the moment, if you open the inspect elements and focus on the body tag, you will see that there are multiple base fonts. The first one, which in our case is Open Sans, is applied to all the elements in the site. All the other fonts are a safety measure. If the browser does not support the first font, it tries the next font in the row. So here in body, I plan to insert Roboto as the first font. The second font, which will be used mostly for headings and titles, will be Playfair Display. Now let's download the files of both these fonts from Google. Back in the project's files, under Web directory, I will create a new directory for fonts. Here, for a better structuring, each font family will have its own directory. And now I will paste all the font files I downloaded earlier. Here, as you can see, each font family has a lot of styles. I will delete most of these styles and keep only those I will be using. For Roboto I will only keep the light, regular, medium, and bold style. And for Playfair Display, regular, medium and bold. So I will delete all the other styles. The font format at the moment is TTF. We need to convert this format to Web Open Font Format 2, which is a compressed version of these TTF files. This will help fonts to load more quickly. There are tools online you can find to convert the font format. I did convert the format and I replaced the current ones with the new files. After inserting the font files at their place, the normal thing to do is to use font face rule, and inside this rule add the correct property declarations, like font family or source. That's what you would do in a project which is built only using CSS. In our Magento project, however, we have the power of less. Magento comes with some less mixins for typography. One of the mixins is libfontface. This mixin is part of Magento Frontend UI library. You can view its logic in the file typography.less, which is located in lib, web, CSS, source, lib. This Magento is used in the blank theme. You can view where it is used by going to the blank theme directory. Web, CSS, source, typography.ls. Here to understand it better, I made both files visible on the screen. In the right screen, there is where the Magento is created, and in the left screen where the Magento is used in the blank theme. Notice here that this less Magento, just like a function, expects some input to produce a result. The input given here, when compiled, will produce this result based on the conditions of the Magento. So in Magento you don't have to write the font face rule directly in a file, you just use the Magento of the Magento UI library, give the right inputs and compile less to CSS. The same way blank theme has used this Magento, we will use it inside our theme. So we need to create, just like the blank theme, a typography.ls file inside our custom theme. Keep in mind that creating a file named typography.ls at this path will overwrite the file if it exists in a parent theme. This means that when everything is compiled, the typography.ls file of the parent theme will be ignored by the system. We don't want to do that. We need to extend the typography.ls file of blank theme, not overwrite it. To do that, we will give this file an extension and name this file typography_extend.ls. Let's now copy the base structure from blank theme and paste it into our new file. Here I will remove the extra code and keep only one Magento used. Now it's time to give the right input to this Magento in order to produce this result. For Roboto Regular, which will be the base font of the site and which has a font weight of 400, the font family input will be Roboto 400. Let's give the correct path of the font file. And change the font weight to 400. Also, we need to include typography extend in the extend.ls file which we have created in the previous videos. Now that this is done, it's time to change the font family of the body tag from Open Sans to Roboto 400. The current body styles are inside the typography.ls file in the lib directory. Here, as you can see, lib typography is another Magento which is used to style the body tag. This Magento is used and created in this file. In order to change the font family, we need to assign a new value to the variable font family base. I will create a new file, variables extend, where on this file I will create new variables for the theme but also assign different values to already existing variables from the parent themes. Now that we assigned a new value to this variable, let's also include this file to extend.ls. If we compile less to CSS now and visit the storefront, we will see that font family in body now has a new value, and each element in storefront has the new font we assigned. As for the second font, Playfair Display, I will demonstrate how to use it for the heading of the materials section. Just like we did for Roboto Regular, we will reference each font file in the typography extend.ls file, and give each file a specific font family. And now I can use the new font family in the materials.ls file. As you can see, using this way, I avoid using font weight CSS property. To extend this even further, in the variables.ls file, I created two new variables for both fonts. In typography extend.ls file, I have created a new Magento lib font family. This Magento expects at least one parameter, which is the name of the font. If the font weight is specified, this will point to that font with that weight. If weight is not specified, this will point to the font weight 400. So now I can replace this with this. The result in the storefront will be the same. And if you want to change the weight to 700, this is the syntax to use. As you can understand, I try to avoid using font weight CSS property and point the font family to the right file instead. The reason why I try to avoid font weight property in the CSS code is that sometimes the browser doesn't support a specific weight of the font, and some elements sometimes might look different from the design for that reason. And this is how I work with fonts in Magento 2 projects. I will end this video here. Thanks for watching.